Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Putnam County Legislature. It is March 7, 2023. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Legislator Nasarino, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please remain standing for the legislative prayer. Legislator Crowley.
We meet to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibility to the past and to the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well.
Amen. Call on the clerk of the legislature for roll call, please.
District 1, Legislator Montgomery.
Present.
District 2, Legislator Goldman.
Present.
District 3, Legislator Adnizio.
Present.
District 4, Legislator Nasarino.
Present.
District 5, Legislator Ellman.
Here.
District 7, Legislator Castellano.
Present.
District 8, Legislator Sage.
Present.
District 9, Legislator Crowley.
Present.
District 6, Chairman Yonke.
Present. Tonight we have two proclamations. The first is acknowledging the Haldane High School varsity boys soccer team, New York State Class C Championship. Legislator Montgomery.
I know this is weird. How are you? Good. You can just stand, say, these are my colleagues on the legislature. These are the state champs.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you guys so much, and thank you parents for making the long trek over here. This is really exciting. And I know you've got a great big game tomorrow, and they won sections in basketball this weekend, and they're on their way to regionals. Whereas the hard work, dedication, sportsmanship, talent, and exceptional team chemistry of the Haldane High School varsity boys soccer team led them to become the first boys team in the school's history to win a New York State Class C championship. And whereas the Haldane varsity boys soccer team was one of 200 teams across the state vying for the championship title. Throughout the season, they faced some of the best teams, coming out victorious each time. And whereas the champions on the Haldane varsity boys soccer team have brought honor to Haldane Central School District, the town of Phillipstown, and Putnam County by showcasing the respect they have for one another, understanding they are each a vital component to the success of the team as a whole. And whereas head coach Ahmed Dwidar and assistant coach John Rotando and assistant coach Ramsey Heitman and volunteers and team members and parents and faculty and the entire student body and really the entire Phillipstown community, because it's not just a school, it's a family, and we learn that each time you guys reach this level, and we know that throughout because it's so exciting to watch. They're all an integral part in guiding the team to victory through their unwavering support in bringing home the New York State Class C Championship title. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Putnam County Executive, Kevin Byrne, and the Putnam County Legislature hereby congratulate the boys varsity soccer team on winning the State Class C Championship and being the very first boys team in the history of Haldane School to win a state championship. Coach Ramsey Heitman. Ronan Geiter.
Yep.
Ryan Engel, William Sniffen, Dan Rotando.
Coach Ahmed Dwyer.
And Coach Ahmed had my kids at home. And I'd just like to acknowledge Principals Julia Sniffen and Mr. Sniffen and Maeve and Dave Engwang. Oh, and that's, so many people here. Thank you so much for coming out. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you at the preschool?
Thank you.
That's so awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, so you get to keep that? You just keep everything? Collecting souvenirs.
So now you know the way over. Come over. Thank you.
Our next proclamation is for the Patterson Historical Society's 50th anniversary. I call on Legislator Nasarino.
Nancy, we have 3 more boys who are just going to come up and wait.
This is a very, very special,
Thank you.
this is a very, very special milestone for the town of Patterson. I'd like to invite our president of the Patterson Historical Society, Ron Taylor, and trustee Patricia Polgar up to share this moment with me. It is great to see you. Oh, I'm sorry. Barbara Brickfield. Oh, I didn't. Hi. So nice to have so many join. I was just thought these two were coming. I'm sorry. That's okay. So I'm very proud and honored to present this proclamation. Whereas February 22nd, 2023 marked the 50th anniversary of the Patterson Historical Society. On the same date, in 1973, the New York State Board of Regents chartered the organization, creating a place to collect and preserve historical documents and artifacts relating to the town of Patterson. Upon their commencement, the Patterson Historical Society established the Heritage Room in the Patterson Library, where they began their collection of historical documents and photographs. Their full collection now includes over 100,000 collected and preserved documents and images. Many have also been digitized and are available to view anytime online. Whereas, recognizing the importance of historic structures as well as documents and artifacts, the Patterson Historical Society moved the Little Red Schoolhouse from Route 22 to South Street, restored it, and continues to maintain it. The Little Red Schoolhouse is now a destination where field trips are often taken by students of Matthew Patterson Elementary School, allowing them to immerse themselves in the history of the town they are growing up in. The Patterson Historical Society also works to restore and continues to maintain the old burial ground by clearing overgrowth and repairing and resetting Revolutionary War-era headstones. Whereas in 2007, the Patterson Historical Society published a book detailing the history of the town of Patterson, complete with hundreds of photos and maps, allowing the reader to actually visualize their beloved town through the years. They have also been collecting and preserving video and audio interviews of residents, offering a unique first-hand experience of life in Patterson. All their work has created an ongoing time capsule for the town of Patterson. Now therefore be resolved that the Putnam County Executive Kevin Byrne and the Putnam County Legislature hereby congratulate the Patterson Historical Society as they celebrate their 50th anniversary, and we thank them for their continuous work to preserve the history of the town of Patterson while keeping it alive. So thank you very much for all that you do to protect and preserve our history of our great little town. Would you like to say
so much.
yours?
Thank you, Jenny.
Oh,
Pass around to the legislature. so they
thank
can
you.
look at
We
what
would
we've
love
done.
to have this in our office, and I'm sure everyone would love to peruse it too. This is such a great book. I have a copy at home, and I'm proud to display it in our legislative office for those who would like to look through it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Item number 5 is correspondence from the county auditor. Oh, I'm sorry. Item number 4, I jumped ahead, is the acceptance of minutes for the regular meeting February 7, 2023, for the public hearing, which was held at 6:30 on February 7, 2023, and the public hearing at 6:45 on February 7, 2023. Item number 5 is correspondence from the county auditor. We have a report. It's a tax refund, which will be addressed as item 6L on our agenda. Item number 6 is pre-filed resolutions. I call on Legislator Nasarino, Chairwoman of the Protective Service Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Yonke. On behalf of myself and legislators Enemy, Zale, and Sage, I would like to move forward with Agenda Item 6A, Approval Budget Amendment 23804, Emergency Services FY 2022 State Homeland Security Program Grant. This is a grant that the funding for this grant was provided by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management, FEMA, and administered to the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services on behalf of FEMA. There are no matching funds with this grant. It is in the amount of $234,731. Monies have been allocated with the grant in accordance with the criteria specified, including 30% of the award directed towards law enforcement terrorism prevention activities. There is zero fiscal impact.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Agenda item 6B is an approval budgetary amendment for the Legal Aid Society for State Indigent Legal Services. This is a budgetary amendment to adjust the 2023 budget to account for state aid from New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services. Putnam County acts as a pass-through, so we received the amount of $646,452 that will go to the Legal Aid Society. There, again, is zero fiscal impact. But we thank the Legal Aid Society for performing a vital service in our county.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Item number 6C is approval budgetary amendment 23A006, Sheriff's Department, New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services grant funding for body-worn cameras. This is a funding to provide 20 additional body-worn cameras and bundles of cost of $2,000 per bundle. These body-worn cameras, the sheriff has requested this consideration of acceptance of this award to allow for the expansion of the body-worn camera program into the correctional facility, jail transportation teams, and among the special patrol officers in public-facing positions. There are no matching funds, and I would like to move this forward in the amount of $40,000.
Second. Discussion. Legislator Montgomery.
Thank you. I reviewed the discussion that we had at the audit meeting and the Protective Services Committee meeting, and I still don't understand the logic behind the Protective Services Committee and the Audit Committee and this legislature failing to request and not having access to a policy for these body-worn cameras. People deserve to know when the deputies are required to turn on the cameras or when it's auto-triggered, who stores the data, or how long it's stored for, or who has access. Other counties have policies for body-worn cameras and have made them public. These policies are pretty easy to find. All policies, including those for body-worn cameras. And isn't that what all the time we spent on police policy reform was for? Transparency, community outreach, accountability, public safety, and training was the mission behind that whole reform. I'm pretty sure that it's our job to implement the document that we adopted not too long ago. It's called the Putnam County, New York Police Policy Review, comprehensive review, and it really shouldn't be ignored and it shouldn't be shelved. And like with the license plate readers that this legislature insisted on a policy for and held up use for close to a year until a policy was in place. They held up the use of the important public safety implementation of the equipment for almost a year until a policy was in place. So I don't intend to do that here, but I do intend to continue to advocate for transparency, community outreach, accountability, public safety, and training. We adopted the reform and sent it to the state in a legal document that called on us to, and I quote from our own document, continue to make recommendations, review policies and procedures. Our reforms, our documents in the reform in the document, the very introduction states, this order directs municipalities that employ police officers to engage stakeholders in the local community and develop locally approved plans for strategies, policies, and procedures of local police agencies. There is a section in our own document called Building Public Trust Through Transparency. It's on page 9, and section 2 calls for an increase in public access to police policy changes by publishing Putnam County Sheriff's Department policies online. And in another section in the document that we adopted and sent to the state, the legal document that we adopted and sent to the state, ensure detailed descriptions of all departmental policies are made readily available to the public via the sheriff's website. That's from page 13 in the document we sent to the state. So forget online. I went to the link provided where these policies were at one time and they've been taken down. We, the legislature, the governing body, can't even get a copy of the policy. School districts, where they are being used, can't even see the policy. They shouldn't have to ask for it. The policy should have been provided to them before use. So let's put these to use as soon as possible. But let's do what we promised to do and provide policy and transparency for the public.
I've communicated with the sheriff since our meetings, our committee meetings, and he's willing to come to a protective service meeting and meet with us in executive session to go over the policy. It's his responsibility to protect the safety and the lives of the good men and women who work for the Putnam County Sheriff's Office, and that's the priority here. I think that we need to be observant of that. Legislator Nasarino.
Yes, I agree, and I spoke to the sheriff too, and the policy will be presented at the next Protective Services meeting. But we really have to look at the big picture and the essence of what we're considering. Protecting our deputies and protecting the public is vital. I'm not going to get into the debate once again. This has been vetted through Protective, it has been vetted through audit, the license plate reader policy, and the body-worn camera policies, the apples to oranges comparison. The deputies have agreed to wear them. It is for their own safety and protection. No grievance has been filed by the PBA. So they are in compliance at their own free will. And we will be reviewing the policy. But again, let's keep our eye on the ball of what we really need to focus on, and that's protecting our deputies, law enforcement, and public safety.
Mr. Chairman,
Legislator Allen.
just for clarification, what is before us now is yes, no, are we going to approve funding? What my colleagues have said, it's true, but it doesn't apply here. It's a
Absolutely.
separate issue, correct?
Correct, you're
Thank you.
absolutely correct.
Anyone else? Legislator Montgomery.
Has the PBA signed on to this? Have they signed off on it?
There's one item that they have not agreed to yet.
So it's not agreed
That I know of.
by the PBA yet? Okay. And
Point of order, we're talking just about funding. These
We're not talking about a policy here tonight, correct?
Correct.
Staff.
Let's call the question, please, Chairman Yagi.
Okay. And as for a roll call vote, please.
Legislator Agnuzio.
Yes.
Legislator Castellano.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
I abstained.
Legislator Elman.
Yes.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
yes.
Legislator Nasarino.
Yes.
Legislator Sage.
Yes.
Chairman Yaki.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On behalf of Legislator Castellano, Nazareno, and myself as chairman of the Personnel Committee, I'd like to move forward with item 6D. It's the approval of a fund transfer for the Planning Department. It's reclassification of a planner to position to principal planner. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Call on Chairwoman Sage from the Health, Social, Educational, and Environmental Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. On behalf of legislators Advisio, myself, and, oh my gosh, sorry.
That would be me.
Sorry, I flipped too many papers. On behalf of Chairwoman Sage, myself, legislators Crowley and Nazareno, I would like to bring forward agenda item 6E, which is approval of a fund transfer for social services for care stage training in the amount of $104,814. This is a budget transfer allocation of county funds to cover the New York State Office of Children and Family Services chargeback for the placement in a state facility from April 2021 to December 2021. We received a bill from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services, and we're obligated to pay our local share. This is the county contribution to pay for the placement in the state facility to cover our bills.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Agenda item 6F is the approval of fund transfer for the Office of Senior Resources for the building rental at the Butterfield Senior Center. This is a fund transfer to allocate a rent to reflect the funding for the Title III programs, the Federal Nutrition, Title C2, WIN, and OSR General. This transfer allocates the rent amounts to accurately reflect the funding sources. This makes it easier for the Office of Senior Resources to pay the rent from those specific funding sources. There's no fiscal impact.
Discussion. Legislator Montgomery.
I'd just like to clarify something that was mentioned during the audit committee meeting. I'm sorry, this is for just putting all the funding in the right place for Butterfield property, is that correct? And we were talking about use of Butterfield, and I just wanted to clarify that in that meeting, my colleagues in the committee mentioned that the village prohibits use of that building for anything other than senior citizens. And I researched that, and I pulled the site plan application, and I actually pulled the lease, and there's nothing in that lease that prohibits use of that building. What it actually states is the Senior Community Center facility shall remain a center to the general public for all Putnam County seniors and can only be changed with the written permission of the landlord. So Putnam County stated that the clerk wanted to use it for services, and there were other departments that wanted to use it for services. And we, as you see in here, we pay an awful lot of rent. All we need to do is ask, have the county ask the landlord. So, you know, the west side of the county is open for Putnam County services. All we need to do is ask the landlord if we can use it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That was my agenda. Item number 6G is the approval of calling on the state of New York to continue to pass through Federal Affordable Care Act enhanced federal Medicaid assistance percentage funds. We discussed this at the Health Department, the Health Committee pretty thoroughly. This Medicaid is one of the unfunded mandates passed to county government by the state of New York. Counties have no say in what is covered and have no say in how the money is spent. The Enhanced Federal Medical Assistance Program, which is called EFMAP, funding was intended to go directly to local governments to help pay their Medicaid bill. This is a resolution that supports the NISAC resolution asking the state of New York to continue to pass through the EMAP funds to county government.
Discussion. Legislator Goulman.
Thank you, Chairman. Governor Hochul's proposal to have the state hoard Medicare funds equals to a shift which will increase costs back to county government of at least $280 million statewide and approximately $1 billion when it includes New York City. When we talk about Putnam County's mandated budget, the funds will be approximately $2.3 million in 2024 and will only increase as time moves on. It is scheduled to grow by 30% by 2027. That's a lot of money. If this goes through, where will we get the money to cover these costs? Where will Putnam County get the money to cover these costs? This opposition to this proposal is very strong, it's justified, and it's bipartisan throughout New York State. I'll be supporting this and hope my colleagues do the same. Thank you.
Legislator Mascherino.
I would like to echo Legislator Goulman's comments. I too will be supporting this. This will bear an undue burden on the residents and taxpayers of Putnam County. As Medicare cases increase yearly, this will only increase the expenditures that we would have to spend ultimately. It's a shame. It's been in place for 20 years, and I would urge the governor to reconsider.
Any other discussion? Legislator
I
Sage.
just wanted to, there were 3 points that NISAC made on their website. First, it undermines the congressional intent of the FMAP funding. On April 1st, the governor plans to take $625 million in FMAP funds and pocket the money to expand the Medicaid program in New York, keeping the funding intended to be shared with local governments to help cover their share of the bill. Senate Majority Leader Charles Schumer fought hard to ensure that local taxpayers wouldn't bear the burden of the expanding Medicaid programs by passing enhanced federal Medicaid assistance program funding. These are local funds. They belong to the counties and were intended to be shared with county government to hold it down the costs. By pocketing these funds, the governor's plan undermines the intent of Congress. It also makes New York State less affordable. At a time when New York is facing an affordability crisis every day, costs are increasing and our financial future is uncertain. Homeowners in Putnam County will be expected and responsible to pay the increase in Medicaid funding upwards of $1.3 million. This, according to NISAC, will make New York State even less affordable by forcing local governments to increase property taxes by an estimated 5 to 10%, driving up the cost of home ownership and rent for all New Yorkers. These costs will grow over time and result in more people leaving the state. We have a housing problem in the state of New York. We have an affordability problem in the state of New York, and we have a tax problem in the state of New York. And finally, if you look at one of the whereas statements, it's unnecessary. The governor's budget proposes to fully fund state reserves 2 years ahead of schedule by depositing $5.4 billion into these accounts before the year end 2023, while also projecting a general fund surplus of $35 billion by the end of state fiscal year 2024. So I will be voting in favor of this and calling on the state of New York to continue the pass-through of Federal Affordable Care Act money to the counties.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I call on Legislator Castellano of the Physical Service Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of Legislators Montgomery and Goulman, I'd like to move forward with the following. Item 6H is the approval of a budgetary amendment from Finance. This is the Stoli-Drewville Intersect project. We have some state money coming in and federal aid as well. This is a huge project that side of the county. This intersection is probably the most dangerous intersection in Putnam County. Anybody who's driven there, of course, is vital because it's near the hospital as well. It's a difficult intersection to maneuver around, and in the near future, we're looking to straighten out that intersection to make it much more safe and easier to operate through. So we do have some state aid coming in and some federal aid. We're just correcting the books, putting the money in the correct location. Zero fiscal impact for us, but this project is moving along nicely.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 6I is in that same general area, the Drewville Road Bridge Replacement Project. This is, again, an increase in state aid that will be in the amount of $798,000, zero fiscal impact to Putnam County, and this will help replace the Drewville Road Bridge that's problematic.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
And 6J is approval of a reappointment of Putnam County Soil and Water Conservation District Board. We have a gentleman that's going to be up for reappointment, Brian Burgeon from Putnam Valley, a farmer representative for a 3-year term set to expire December 31st, 2025. I spoke to people in the Highway Department. They spoke very highly of Brian and wholeheartedly recommended him for this reappointment.
Discussion. Legislator Montgomery.
I'd like to thank Brian for his service to the Soil and Water Conservation Board. He has been a great resource to the town of Phillipstown, a great steward of the land, serving. We have many large tracts of land that serve to teach farmers how to farm, and other big tracts of land that he is the steward of, and he takes great care of the land, and I'm really happy to have him on the Soil and Water Conservation Board.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to recognize Legislator Castellano, the Audit and Administration Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of legislators Elner and Goldman, I'd like to bring forward the following. Item 6K is the approval of the budgetary amendment for the Commissioner of Finance, the year-end journal entry number 2. From time to time, the Commissioner of Finance comes in front of us to basically correct the books and put the funding in the correct location, as you discussed in audit last week. Pretty straightforward information. We're just moving money around, putting them in the correct category, zero fiscal impact for us.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 6L is the approval of refund of taxes within the Town of Carmel tax map 54.8-1-88-1 and 54.8-1-55-2 and 54.8/1/55-3. From time to time, we do have refunds that have to occur, have to be submitted through our office. Pretty straightforward. This resident's getting a refund on his taxes that he overpaid on.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
6M is the approval for the Town of Putnam Valley American Rescue Plan Act and sales tax funding reallocation. We had a discussion on how to reuse some of the ARPA funds that were given to us, and the Town of Putnam Valley came forward and gave us some information on how we can reuse this money in a more appropriate manner. It was overwhelmingly approved by the audit committee last week, and it seems to be the right thing to do for the people of Putnam Valley.
Discussion. Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a very important issue for the town of Putnam Valley. I'm glad to see the supervisor of Putnam Valley, Jackie, and I'll be here tonight to support this problem. The town of Putnam Valley would like to reappropriate funds from the ARPA funding. As discussed in committee, and everyone had the letter in their packet from Supervisor Jackie and I, and the bipartisan town board, explaining what they want to do. Basically, there's 2 projects. One is the reduction of phosphorus in the watershed area, which involves drainage repair from Hiawatha and Winona Road and from Oscawana Lake Road. It is important that this project move ahead as soon as possible for the health of a great lake we have in Putnam Valley, Oscawana Lake. The estimated cost for this project is $483,120. I've observed this when there's a major rainstorm, this stuff literally just flows into the lake, and it's not a good thing for the lake of Osceola. Project number 2, Bell Hollow Bridge Replacement Plan. The current condition of the bridge is a serious concern. The bridge needs to be replaced as a matter of urgency to ensure public safety. The total estimate cost for this project at this time is $1,290,455. The town's intention is to do as much of the work in-house as they can possibly do, which will decrease the total cost of the project, hopefully a little bit under $1 million. These projects will be worked simultaneously within the town of Putnam Valley due to the necessity associated with them. The costs associated with these undertakings are really substantial, and it's a substantial burden for the taxpayers of the town. The reappropriation of these funds would greatly alleviate and offset this problem. I will be supporting this and hope my colleagues in this body support me on this. This is a very important issue, very important projects for the town of Putnam Valley. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Item 6N is the approval of authorization for the county auditor to attend March New York Government Finance Officers Association Annual Conference. This is in the amount of $515 to allocate for our county auditor to attend the conference, which is, I believe, the right thing to do. It's a great learning experience to go to these conferences, so I'm all in favor of moving this forward.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7A, we have other business. It's the approval of the appointment to the Budget and Finance Committee representative, the Capital Projects Committee. It was tabled from the organizational meeting on January 3rd of this year. We'd like to appoint Legislator Goldman to the Budget and Finance Committee representative to the County Capital Projects Committee for a period of 1 year. Discussion.
Second.
Seconded, but thank you. Discussion. Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 8 is recognition of public on agenda items. If any member of the public wishes to speak, please approach the podium. State your name and the town you reside in.
Hi, everyone, Jackie Hunter from Putnam Valley. I want to thank you all for allowing the reallocation. The funding that we originally asked for was for doing a sewer expansion, but the cost was not feasible for the town or the district. So moving these allocations to make a safe waterway and a safe bridge is very helpful. So I want to thank you all for the unanimous vote. So thank you. Thank you.
If there's no one else, move on to item 9, which is recognition of legislators. Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, Chairman. For the public, Putnam County is having an annual free rabies vaccination clinic on Saturday, March 25th, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. For more information, please call the Putnam County Department of Health at 845-808-1390, extension 43160. Also, the Putnam County's annual tree and shrub seeding sale is back. Cornell Cooperative Extension and Soil and Water Conservation have teamed up to offer a wonderful selection of trees and shrubs. They will be offering native trees, shrubs, and perennials that support birds and pollinators. Order early so you can get the species that you're looking for. Check on the Cornell Cooperative website for more information. There are many activities that teenagers could do within Putnam County, and also learn a valuable skill and a lifelong hobby. The Putnam 4-H has many programs and clubs that offer a variety of things for young people. Go to the Putnam County Cornell Cooperative website for more information. On Thursday, the Putnam County Executive, Kevin Byrne, will present the 2023 State of the County to the legislative body right here at this building, March 9th at 7 p.m. All residents are invited. If you can't attend, you're welcome to view this live stream on a video at the Putnam County website. So please, either come, reservations are needed, or watch it on the Putnam County website. Thank you.
Any other comment? Legislative Sage.
Yeah. March is the beginning of Women's History Month, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to highlight one of the women right here in Putnam County, who's a hero, Sybil Ludington. Pioneer women, to the women of today, has been home to some of the most innovative and fearless women in modern history, though many go unrecognized for their actions. In 1777, Sybil Ludington, who was only 16 years old at the time, learned that the British were planning to loot a stockpile of provisions meant for the colonial army near Danbury, Connecticut. Her father, Colonel Henry Ludington, was commanding 400 militiamen nearby, and news had not reached him about the imminent attack. Sybil mounted her horse, and on April 26, 1777, she rode 40 miles through a rainstorm while avoiding capture to warn her father. She rode more than double the distance Paul Revere did on his famous ride. Young Sybil successfully rode from 9 p.m. until dawn with nothing more than a stick to ward off bandits. While her father's militia was too late to save Danbury, they eventually drove the British back to their ships. General George Washington thanked Sybil for her important role. However, it wasn't until 1935 here in Carmel, New York, that a statue was erected in honor of her bravery and patriotism. Her bravery wasn't recognized until 158 years after her historic ride with the statue on the shores of Lake Oneida. But isn't that how it goes sometimes for women in general? We do hard work, we do our best to do the good for our communities. We work not for accolades, but for the good of our community, oftentimes making less than our male counterparts. I'm sure everyone knows Paul Revere, but how many outside Putnam County know the story of Sybil Ludington? It's not about the headlines, it's more about making a difference in our community. We work every day, and my male counterparts as well, going to church, raising our families, trying to make the world a better place, a place to raise our children and our grandchildren. While we're making the world a better place day by day, let's stop and recognize those who might often be overlooked and remember the achievements and accomplishments of women in history, many of whom live right here in Putnam County. And our old Sybil Ludington was buried right in Patterson at the Maple Avenue Cemetery next to her father. So I'd just like to kick off Women's History Month, remembering the 16-year-old girl who rode.
Anyone else? Legislator Montgomery.
Hi, so it's March and spring is going to be here soon, and we see a lot of the businesses in my community preparing for tourism and busy time and recreation, and the bulk of my work for this past month has been in regard to the fact that Holtec International, the company that's decommissioning Indian Point, has announced its intention to release radioactive waste on site into the Hudson River. There's been no specific reporting of the radioactive contents of the water, which is heavily contaminated from the storage of the nuclear fuel waste. The National Academy of Sciences indicated that there is no verifiable level of these isotopes, no verifiable safe level of these isotopes when they are ingested or inhaled. There's 7 communities, neighboring communities to Putnam County, that rely on this for drinking water. The river is an estuary that flows both from south to north and north to south, so this fact must be considered. So it's a major source of recreation for the district I represent, and I'm hoping that I can encourage our chairwoman of the Health Committee to consider the resolution I sent 3 weeks ago, I'm sorry, and if not that one, Senator Harcum, both of our state senators, Senator Harcum and Assemblywoman Dana Levenberg, have proposed a bill before the state legislature. But I encourage you all, public and officials alike, to write to the Nuclear Regulatory Committee, the State Nuclear Regulatory Committee, and the New York State Department of Environment Conservation and stop this ridiculousness from happening and poisoning everybody. Thank you.
Anyone else? Legislator Elmer.
This is a unfortunate situation when you don't take into account the law of unintended consequences. Being that I work in the water and wastewater industry, I have some familiarity with this. Nuclear power plants typically store their rods in 16 feet depth of lead-lined demineralized water. And now we're in a situation where the plant is being decommissioned and we have to choose the lesser of two evils. Are we going to keep these fuel rods in storage tanks that are ultimately going to fail? Or are we going to come up with a plan to remove this water in a safe manner? Unfortunately, the only people who have any purview to this are the feds through the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. But this is a case of people didn't think everything through when they went to shut it down, and now we're in a crisis knee-jerk reaction mode. This was one of the safest plants in the country. It was one of the only analog controlled nuclear power plants, so it never could be hacked. So this is just something that's going to deserve real consideration and planning. And no matter what we do here, unfortunately, it's going to fall on deaf ears because it's the Federal Nuclear Regulatory Commission who has complete and total control over what's going to happen here. And I know that Congressman Lawler's office has been on top of this, and he's been working on this, and his people have even contacted me.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.